Hi, welcome back. I'm Mary Jo, also known as Sojo, and this is my channel where I talk about all my quilty stitchy things. And today is March 3rd, 2024, and it's my weekly update, number 55. This is where I talk about everything I worked on and completed throughout the week. And I must say, it's been a week, but even though there's been a lot of things that happened this week, I still managed to get some stuff done. So what did I quilt on the long arm? I quilted this behind me. Now, we'll take a closer look at it in a minute. But this was a pattern that you've seen me work on my channel through my weekly updates that I'd completed the quilt top a while ago. And I used this pattern, the Holiday Homestead. Now, of course, this was all different fabrics from what they used. And this was a free pattern from Henry Glass and Company. There it says updated on May 9th, 2019. So it's a pattern I had for a while. All right, we'll go in, take a closer look at the quilting. And I quilted it with this Christmas tree pantograph. So there's a look at the panel there in the center of the truck. We'll go up to the top here. And we'll go over and down. Going to the bottom. All right. And we'll pick out some of those Christmas trees here. As you can see right here, there's the star, there's the Christmas tree, and they go on down. So that's what was on the long arm this week. Okay, so as I've already said in some of the other videos, it's been an interesting week. Like, several small things happened, and then the tornadoes went through, which didn't affect us at all, which I'm grateful for, but it did come very close of the 5 different tornadoes. But also, I thought the long arm was broke, but I was able to fix that because the long arm is not here. It's at my parents' house, and my mom was using the long arm. She had some problems with it, but I was able to go over, get it fixed, adjust some tension. It's all good. So that's was a positive. Just took a little time, but that's okay. So what else did I work on? Well, let's see. I started working on this. Let me pull it out here. This Quilt Seeds Lori Holt pattern, and I am doing videos for these that will be coming out this week. So they'll be coming out and seeing how I go about working this. But so far, I have this little scissor block done, and this. But like I said, I've been working on videos, so those will be coming out this week. Just have to edit and do some things with those. Let's see. What else did I work on? Well, I had been working on this sewing machine cover and ironing board. Now, I have the ironing board, it's all done. My husband did cut that piece of wood for me a couple weeks ago, and we did notice that he had to trim it a little bit, and even with that, it's still a little snug. So if I do another cover, I will know to make the cover bigger. So, here is my ironing board. Now, I use my wool pressing mat, which I love my wool pressing mat. See, there's kind of the side. However, I was looking for something that I could put right beside me when I do paper piecing, because even though I like having this separate station, it forces me to get up and move. When you're doing paper piecing and you're trying to press after every time you sew, it's a little bit easier. So I've got that I can put beside me, because I have like a little table thing that's beside me. I can put that on. Now, this is a little bit longer than my table, so my husband told me he's going to get a hinge with a piece of board to put on the back so we can fold it up so it gives a little extra leg there. So that's good. Now my ironing board, because this all came with a Creative Notion subscription box from a long time ago, and I mean, my husband had to cut the board, but it came with Insulbright to put on it, so I put the Insulbright on, and I'm a little bit concerned about that, so I put another piece of all cotton batting on top of it, so we'll see how it works. Worst can happen, it doesn't work, and if it catches on fire, there's a window, I can just throw it out real quick. No, I'm just kidding. Hopefully that's not going to happen. So, anyway, that's that. Now, as far as the sewing machine cover goes, so this is the back of that sewing machine cover. I just put a plain piece of lining, white lining, and I have flex foam, Pellon flex foam in it, and I quilted that. So I have that backing, the back of that sewing machine cover. And then this is flex foam for the front. And this is what's going to go on the sides. I still have to do some quilting on this somehow. But it'll be simple quilting. And then like I said, this is where we're at. See, that's the back. I already got done quilted. So I'm still working on doing that front together. I've got those units almost together. They're still penned. So that's where we are on that. Again, that's what we're working on. Like I said, the ironing board's done. I'm just working on getting that covered together. There is piping down in here too, that I've already got the piping together. So we worked on that, and let me put this aside here. Another Creative Notions box I've worked on. Got some borders cut for this one. And this is what I'm working on. So I have the whole center of this top piece together, and I'm working on this small inner white border right here. I've got that pinned on. It just needs to be sewed on. So there's where we are with that. Like I said, that small white border is pinned on the sides. I just have to sew it down and then add the bigger border all the way around. And my border is going to be different than the ones in the picture, because in the picture it used this, and I'm probably not going to scallop it either. And I'm using this for my border. So we worked on that. Now before I pull out the next projects I worked on, I looked over and noticed my total was sitting over here in my little book where I'm keeping how much I do this year. That brings my total to I've quilted 9 quilts this year. Now I have a goal of 50. We'll see if that happens. But I've quilted 9. So what else did I work on? Well, I worked on this quilt pattern, which is a sew sampler, Ambience. Let's see if I can sew a better picture here. Okay, here's a little bit better picture. So I have all of this sewn together, and I pinned this little sashing piece between this row and this row. And that's where we are. Pull that out. So I just need to sew down that sashing in the middle and sew that gray border all the way around. See, there's where that sashing is. It's pinned. You know I love my pins. And since I'm getting farther along on some of these projects, I don't have as much pins in projects, so my tin has definitely been replenished. Because earlier in the year, I showed one video where my pen of tins was completely empty. So this is where we are. Sometimes it's hard to show these quilt tops. All right, so that's where we are on that one. And I've worked on a couple other sew sampler projects here. So I did see an interesting video this week, or at least I thought it was interesting, from Karen Brown of Just Get It Done Quilts, where she went through and counted all of her yardage of how much fabric she had. I thought that was interesting. So let me know in the comments below. Do you guys, if you've seen that video, do you think you have more fabric or less fabric than Karen Brown? I think I have more. Ugh. So, with that being said, I think I need to quit buying and start using more. What do you think? All right. I'm just pulling some more things out here that I worked on. Putting that in there. And then I worked on this pattern as well. Shooting stars. Now, basically, this is worked in 2 blocks. This is 1 block, and this is 2 blocks. Or the second block. So I have my little 4 patch units here pinned together, and this will be 1 block that goes together like that. So I've got some things pinned. And I've got all of those pinned throughout the whole stack. There's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of them. And these are the start of the other blocks here. And I've got a bunch of those all pinned together through there. Worked on that. And I've got more things to pull out. And I worked on this sew sampler project as well. This is Daydreams. So I've got these 4 patch units pinned together, which is where I am right here. So these will come together and start looking like this. And I have a whole stack, more, and then I've got more over here. So I worked on that. And then I worked on this boxed in pattern. Let's see here. This. Now this was a free pattern that I got from a quilt shop called Polar Fabrics over in Indiana, where they had like a 5-yard, 1-yard bundle, and excuse me, there was 1 yard and there was 5 cuts. So there's a total of 5 yards, and then you got to pick a free pattern, and that's what I picked out. Now I did show the same pattern with different fabrics last week when I had it binding, and I said there was barely enough binding. So I was going to cut an extra strip for this binding. I used all of that fabric. So hopefully I have enough binding to do this when I get it all done. But so here's what the strips are looking like. I've got those pinned together. And then when I take it over to the sewing machine, I will do my web piecing for that quilt top, because that is my preferred method of putting these type of quilts together. So I've got all of those pinned into rows. Now, as most as you know, last year I did the Cotton Cuts Gnome of the Month blocks, where I did all 4 of the blocks, and they were mostly half square triangles. Sometimes they were rectangles where you put into squares, and then they put them together kind of in a grid pattern. However, they came with lots of extra pieces because they were pre-cut. And so I'd been using those for my leaders and enders, and I was basically using the same one over and over, sewing all over and throwing away. And after a while, I thought, well, why am I doing that? I might as well take those triangles and start sewing together into half square triangles, which is what I've been doing, and using those as my leaders and enders. You know, so I've got a bunch of these. I'm almost through sewing all the half square triangles together. So this is where I came. And then I'm going to use them to make something along with the squares. And this is only a portion of the squares that were left over. So I don't know how I'm going to put these together yet, but I am working on that. It's kind of like my side project, my leader and enders projects, to make something when they're all done. So I've been working on that too. Now I think that's all I've worked on as far as piecing, sewing, and quilting. Let's move on to my cross stitch. So, cross stitch here. Let me pull that out. Oh, I didn't mean to show that. You didn't see that, right? No. There we go. There's the pattern. That's what I've been working on, is this pattern there. Now this is a Lori Holt Vintage Sampler cross stitch. Now I'd already done her quilt, that Christmas vintage quilt that is all quilted. It's just waiting for a binding. So I kind of figured this could go along with it. I will probably turn this into a pillow and have it with that quilt. But this is my progress so far. There we are. So now I prefer, when I work on a cross stitch, I work all the color everywhere and then move on to the next color and just go down the list. That's how I prefer to do it. So out of these 12 little patterns here, I've got that. Candy canes are completely done. The gingerbread will be done sometime this week. And who knows what else will get done. So that's my cross stitch. Now that was worked on 14 count Aida. And then we have my crochet. And I have been working on this pattern, this Lion Brand Vanna's Choice City Sleek Rana. I have finished, well, I'd had the back finished last time, and I got the right side completely finished, and I sewed up the side. So there we go. There's the armhole right there, and there's that. So that right side is all done, and now I'm working on this left side. And then once I get that left side, I can sew up the side seam. But I'm really liking the color of this, the yarn. So I worked on that. And then the last thing, my diamond painting. This is what the picture looks like. And this is where I'm at. as you can see, I'm working right over here in this little section right now. Now I do use these release papers to section off into the little rectangles just because it makes it easier to work with. All right, so that's everything I worked on this week. Now, one other thing I do want to mention, I have been doing a lot of unboxing or hauls videos from Missouri Star. I am going to kind of stop doing that for right now just because I need to stop buying stuff and start using. But, and all my videos to talk about, I've been using Andrea from Arkansas Gals Code, but I just saw a video where she says her code for this month is actually 20% off. Now, it needs to be a $50 purchase or more, but hey, I'm going to link her video down in the description box below. If you're market to shop, hey, 20% off is better than the 15% off I've been using. All right, till next time. Bye.